Hey everybody, and welcome back to Submarine History. We're bringing in 2026 with briefing number 55, the top 10 U.S. Fleetboat Commanders from World War II. I have references and links in the description to this briefing, and I also have a Discord. There's an invitation link on the channel banner. If you like the briefing, you can leave a super thanks or consider a channel membership. If you have any questions about the briefing, leave them in the comments section below and I'll do my best to answer them. Okay, so let's set the stage for this top 10 list. Data for this briefing came primarily from three sources. Clay Blair's 2-volume book series, Silent Victory, the U.S. Submarine War Against Japan, the Joint Army-Navy Assessment Committee, JANIC, 1947 report titled Japanese Naval and Merchant Marine Shipping Losses During World War II by All Causes, and finally, the San Francisco National Park Association website. JANIC was formed in January 1943 for the purpose of analyzing and assessing Japanese naval and merchant shipping losses, naval meaning warships. Analysis from JANIC would have helped guide U.S. naval strategy in the Pacific. According to JANIC's 1947 report, 2,346 Japanese merchant ships were sunk by the USA and its allies during World War II for 8,618,109 tons. JANIC also defines a ship as a vessel displacing at least 500 tons. Now on this slide, we're talking merchant ship losses only, to keep some consistency with the statistics in briefing number 4, which was the top 10 U-boat commanders. 1,113 Japanese merchant ships were sunk by USA fleetboats for 4,779,902 tons, while an additional 710 Japanese merchant ships were sunk by USA aircraft for 2,362,932 tons. According to the San Francisco Maritime National Park Association, during World War II, 465 men served as fleetboat captains, and that includes skippers for the S-boats. Of that total, 76 captains sank at least 5 ships. Blair used a 5-ship minimum, which includes naval and merchant ships, when he was compiling captain stats for his books. Those 76 men represent 16% of all fleetboat captains, and of those 76 skippers, the top 10 sank at least 14 ships. Before we leave this slide, I would point out that Commander Joe Enright sank 1 ship while serving as a captain of the Archerfish, the 65,800-ton aircraft carrier Shinano. Even though he only sank that 1 ship in his career, it's more tonnage than the number 3 captain on this top 10 list we're going to go over. Some interesting facts. The top 10 fleetboat captains were responsible for 14% of all Japanese tonnage sunk by fleetboats. 8 of the top 10 fleetboat captains survived World War II, which is an 80% survival rate. 52 of 288 fleetboats were sunk during World War II. That's an 82% survival rate. And then finally, approximately 3,506 of 16,000 fleetboat sailors perished during World War II. And that represents a 78% survival rate. Now, if you've seen other briefings on this channel, you may have seen this chart before. We have 2 lines on the chart. An orange line, which represents a ratio between the number of ships sunk versus fleetboats lost at sea, and a green line, which represents the merchant ships sunk versus U-boats lost at sea. For comparison, this chart spans January 1942 to May 1945. From January 1942 to October 1943, the U.S. effort, it's either terrible or it's okay. And that's mostly due to the better than 70% failure rate of the Mark 14 torpedo. The S-boats with their Mark 10 torpedoes did a lot of the heavy lifting during this period. Between November 1943 to October 1944, the U.S. effort is excellent, on par with what the Germans were doing during the Second Happy Time. And that reflects implementing solutions for the Mark 14 torpedo's problems and introduction of the Mark 18 electric torpedo. And then after October 1944, the effort drops off and becomes, okay again. What this return to okay represents is a significant reduction of the Japanese merchant marine force, to the point that targets for U.S. subs were just getting harder to come by. As the Pacific Fleet gets closer to Japanese home waters, U.S. aircraft begin to take their share of Japanese merchants, further reducing the pool of targets for U.S. subs. Furthermore, as the Pacific Fleet gets closer to Japan, fleet boats start to get shifted to lifeguard duty during invasion operations. On the slides, I have listed the United States Naval Academy class graduation year for each captain, and all these captains actually went to the Naval Academy. The tonnage totals account for naval and merchant shipping. Blair didn't break it out, naval versus merchant. It was just at least 500, it was at least 5 ships, 500 tons or more. All right, so let's do this. The top 10 Fleetboat commanders in World War II. Coming in at number 10 is John S. Coyne, Jr., USNA class of 1933, with 14 ships sunk over 6 patrols for a total of 39,000 tons. He commanded the Silversides, which was a Gato class. The Silverside was the 3rd top submarine by number of ships sunk, 23, under 3 separate captains, including Coy. And today, the Silversides is a museum boat in Muskegon, Michigan. Coy survived the war and retired as a Rear Admiral in 1968, and he died in 2002 at the age of 91. At number 9 is Charles O. Treble, USNA class of 1929, with 14 ships sunk, over 8 patrols for 58,837 tons. He commanded 2 boats during the war, the S-15, which was an S-class, and the Snook, which was a Gato. The Snook was the 13th top submarine by number of ships sunk at 17, under 2 captains, including Treble. Snook was lost in April 1945 to an unknown cause. Treble, he survived the war and retired as a Rear Admiral in 1962. He died in 1996 at the age of 89. Coming in at number 8 is Royce L. Gross, USNA class of 1930, with 14 ships sunk over 7 patrols for 65,735 tons. He commanded 2 boats during the war, the Seawolf, which was a Sargo-class boat, and the Boarfish, which was a Balao. The Seawolf was the 10th top submarine by number of ships sunk at 18, under 2 captains, including Gross. Seawolf completed 15 war patrols and was believed to be lost in October 1944 due to friendly fire. Gross survived the war and retired as a Rear Admiral. He died in 1987 at the age of 81. At number 7 is Gordon W. Underwood, USNA class of 1932, with 14 ships sunk, over 3 patrols for 75,386 tons. He commanded 1 boat during the war, the Spadefish, which was a Balao class. The Spadefish was the 5th top submarine by number of ships sunk at 21, under 2 captains, including Underwood. Underwood is notable for a couple things. One, he sank the Japanese escort carrier Shinyo, which was the converted German ocean liner Scharnhorst, which had been stranded in Japan at the start of the Pacific War. The other thing notable about him was that on the boat's 3rd patrol, it survived an attack by U.S. aircraft, and after that patrol was finished, Underwood apparently asked to be transferred off to submarines, which he was. Underwood survived the war and retired as a captain in 1962, and he died in 1978 at the age of 67. The Oliver Hazard Perry class frigate FFG 36 was named after him. At number 6 is Reuben T. Whitaker, USNA class of 1934, 14 1/2 ships sunk over 5 patrols for 60,846 tons. He commanded 2 boats during the war, the S-44, which was an S-class, and the Flasher, which was a Gato. The Flasher was the 4th top submarine by number of ships sunk at 21, under 2 captains, including Whitaker. The Flasher survived the war, and its conning tower is on display at the National Submarine Memorial in Groton, Connecticut. Whitaker survived the war and retired as a Rear Admiral in 1968. He died in 1985 at the age of 74. At number 5 is Samuel D. Dealey, USNA class of 1930. 16 ships sunk over 6 patrols for 54,002 tons. He commanded 1 boat during the war, the Harder, which was a Gato class. The Harder was the 16th top submarine by number of ships sunk at 16, all under the command of Dealey. The Harder and its crew were lost in August 1944 by Japanese anti-submarine warfare ships. Dealey was posthumously awarded the Medal of Honor. At number 4, we have Eugene B. Fluckey, USNA class of 1935, with 16 1/3 ships sunk over 5 patrols for 95,360 tons. He commanded 1 boat during the war, the Barb, which was a Gato. The Barb is the 12th top submarine by number of ships sunk at 17, under 2 captains, including Fluckey. The Barb is interesting because its first 5 patrols were in the Atlantic supporting the North African invasion and Axis blockade operations. Now, Flucky's nickname was Lucky Flucky, and the Barb's crew were referred to as Flucky's Barbarians. Flucky and the Barb sank Unyo, a 20,000-ton Japanese escort carrier. They were also notable for being the first to employ 5-inch rocket launchers on the deck to conduct bombardment missions on the Japanese home islands. Barb also landed a raiding party on the island of Karafudo, where they set demolition charges to blow up a railroad train, the only landing of Allied troops on Japanese mainland during the war. Flucky survived the war and retired as a Rear Admiral in 1972. He died in 2007 at the age of 93. Flucky was also a Medal of Honor recipient, and in 1992, he had a book published, Thunder Below, about his time and experiences on the Barb. Coming in at number 3, Dudley W. Morton, USNA class of 1930, 19 ships sunk, over 6 patrols for 55,000 tons. He commanded 2 boats, the R5, which was an R class, and then the Wahoo, which was a Gato. Wahoo is the 7th top submarine by number of ships sunk at 20, under 2 captains, including Morton. The R5 served in the Atlantic, patrolling from the Caribbean up to New England to counter U-boats. The Wahoo and its crew were lost in August 1944 by Japanese anti-submarine warfare ships. Our runner-up at number 2, Slade D. Cutter, USNA class of 1935, 19 ships sunk over 4 patrols for 72,000 tons. He commanded 1 boat during the war, the Seahorse, which was a Blau class. Seahorse was the 6th top submarine by number of ships sunk at 20, under 2 captains, including Cutter. Cutter survived the war and retired as a captain in 1965. He was elected to the College Football Hall of Fame in 1967, and he died in 2005 at the age of 93. And here we are, finally at number 1, Richard O'Kane, USNA class of 1934, 24 ships sunk over 5 patrols for 93,824 tons. Now, O'Kane served as the XO on the Wahoo under Morton. O'Kane himself commanded 1 boat during the war, the Tang, which was a Blau class. Okay, Tang is the 2nd top submarine by number of ships sunk at 24. Probably the most notable thing about O'Kane and the Tang was the fact that the Tang was sunk by a circular running torpedo in October 1944. It's too much of a story to talk about now. The short story is that the boat sank in 180 feet of water in the Taiwan Strait. 9 of the crew, including O'Kane, using Momsen lungs, were able to escape the boat and were taken as POWs. O'Kane survived captivity in a Japanese POW camp and retired as a Rear Admiral in 1957. He died in 1994 at the age of 83. O'Kane was also awarded the Medal of Honor, and he wrote a couple books about his experiences on Wahoo and Tang. Well, that's it for another briefing, and I hope you enjoyed it. A few closing thoughts on the subject. First, I know you want to compare U.S. captains to the U-boat captains, but we can't do that. The Battle of the Atlantic and the Pacific Submarine War were vastly different conflicts, each with their own sets of considerations and challenges. The second is that when you look at the top 10 U-boat and Fleetboat commanders, these people were truly exceptional at what they did, and any of these commanders, any of them, would have been successful in each other boats in either conflict. Well, I'm looking forward to more content in 2026. Thanks for joining along the ride. Till next time, peace out.